Ooh, that one was steamy. That was nice. All right, well, we're back, and it has been a long time. I don't think I put one out since January, honestly, and part of that's just been life, really. A lot going on, and yeah, we'll get to that. But first, we'll talk about our sponsor, AnyWin Field Spray. Still the best spray on the market. I promise you it's better than everything else that's ever been made. And I was actually listening to a podcast today, Jared Mills on the Working Class Bow Hunter, and he was talking about scent control. And, you know, the big question is always, does it work, does it not work? And he said that he always goes through the entire routine of scent elimination. And the reason he does is because he believes any edge that you can get makes a difference. And he believes it does make a difference. He talked about how not doing any scent control, your odds of getting busted are way higher. And it's mostly because he was saying if you don't do any scent control, so you're going in there full smell of any sort, you know, you're just full on just whatever, just raw dogging it, right? There's a greater chance of that deer picking you off because of how bad the smell is or how much they can smell it. But if you do scent control, you can minimize that scent. You're not going to completely get rid of it. You're not going to completely fool an animal. But if you can minimize it to where it's not as big of a smell to them, they might not be near as alerted because it's not as strong. And that's honestly one of the reasons I use AnyWin Field Spray, because it really does that same thing. Like, I don't know what it is about it. I'm just telling you there's something about it gets rid of that odor that is going to have the deer bust you on. Like, I don't know why. I've used it obviously for a couple years now. Used a bunch of sprays and stuff over the years. Never really seemed to work. Ever since I started using AnyWin, get busted way less. Like, I mean, there's times where I'm just like, this deer is going to bust me. Like, they're downwind. I'm screwed. And then they never have a clue I'm there. And the only thing I can figure is this because I'm eliminating enough scent that they don't know I'm there. So AnyWin Field Spray, Jake and Ashley Wallingford are some of my best friends. They're awesome people. They have a great product. It's just the best by far that I've ever used. So thank you, AnyWin Field Spray, for being the sponsor of this podcast. All right, so let's. I don't know what episode this is because I forgot to look that up. Not that I have a ton, but it's been so long since I've done one. I don't remember. I think it's 17 or 18. Could be wrong. What have I been up to? Really, it's just been life. You know, it's been tough. I got 3 kids and a wife, and we got a lot going on. Work's been super crazy, and youth sports has been super crazy. My daughter's doing select softball. Oldest son is in high school golf. Youngest son is in coach pitch. It's just been a lot. And part of that too is after every deer season, I tend to just kind of just get away from it for a while. And, you know, I know everybody's like, you know, year round, you got to be doing stuff year round. You know, a lot of people are into shed hunting and, you know, already planning for next year. And to some degree, I agree with that. And if I had the ability to do some of that, I would. Shed hunting to me has never been a huge draw. It's cool. I think it's fun to find sheds, but I'm not a diehard that's just like, I can't wait to go find sheds. Like, I want to go spend my time doing that. So I don't really shed hunt. And then when it comes to turkey season in the spring, I don't really turkey hunt. Never have. I don't know. I just never found it that exciting. I mean, I've gone a couple times with a buddy. I've just never, it's just a bird to me. I mean, yeah, I know it's fun and like you're calling them in and stuff like that, but it's just never something that I've cared to put my time into. And at this stage of life, when I'm just really busy with, you know, all the kids stuff and trying to keep up with what they're doing and going to their stuff and, you know, hanging out with them, turkey season's just not really something that's high on my radar. So, yeah, I mean, as far as podcasting goes, you got to find stuff to talk about. And when deer season's over, at least for me, it gets kind of repetitive talking about the same stuff over and over. And some stuff will come out that you'll be able to talk about. So keeping up on some stuff is good, but it's just that time of year, that January to March, April frame that for me, it's just, I kind of step back from it. I just don't do a lot of stuff during that time that's really deer hunting related. So it's just been it's been kind of where I'm at. But I've kind of been getting the itch to get back on here and talk a little bit. Don't know, how much in depth I'll really be today. I'm just going to kind of been talking about what's going on, what I've been up to. The one thing I will say that I did do was I bought a new bow. So I have been running the Mathews Verdicts since it came out. That was the first flagship bow that I bought, and I've loved that bow. But I swear I have some really bad voodoo with that bow. And so I was like, you know what? I'm ready to change it up, try something new. Obviously, that bow is 7 or 8 years old, so nothing wrong with the bow. I just, for whatever reason, anytime it came down to hunting, I just never seemed to perform well with it. And obviously, that's probably mostly on me. But yeah, I was just ready just for kind of a fresh start with that. So I now have a Mathews Arc 34 in the Kodiak Brown. It's hanging up over here. I don't know if it's in the video or not. But yeah, so I got the Mathews Arc 34 in the Kodiak Brown, which is really cool. I had a camo bow before, and now it's this cool brown color, so pretty sweet. I got the 12-inch flatline stabilizer on the front. I still have my Spot Hogg sight. That's something I am planning on replacing. I just feel like with the new Mathews bows, you really should, if you're going to upgrade to these new bows, I think using all of the features with the accessories. I know the accessories are really expensive, but using those accessories really maximizes the bow. So using like a bridge lock, I guess what it's called, right? The bridge lock sights, where the sight goes into the riser, and then same with the stabilizer, it goes into the riser. I think that is a huge benefit because it makes the bow so compact, which is really nice. And so I just think if you're going to upgrade to one of these newer ones, I think it's worth getting the accessories. I'm not buying all the accessories all at one time because they are outrageously priced. So definitely not doing that. That's why I started. I just got the 12-inch front stabilizer, which the reason I like the 12-inch is because a lot of times when I'm walking to and from my stand, or if I'm hiking around, doing stuff, I like to hang the bow right over my shoulder, so I got it on my back. And then that long stabilizer, I can hold on to that as I'm walking. So that's really the reason that I like having a longer stabilizer on the front. I don't have it for any reason otherwise as far as like the balance part. It's after I'm, shooting it enough, like if I realize or feel like I need a back stabilizer to help, then maybe I will do that. But for now, I just really wanted that front stabilizer. I got the one that's angled slightly because that's how my last bow setup was. I just had wick stick stabilizers on that bow, but yeah, so I got that stabilizer, and then I did buy the quiver, which is what the Low Pro quiver, I think it's called, which is super nice. I always ran a really cheap quiver on my last bow because I just never cared to spend the money on an expensive Mathews one. But the downside to that was it was just attached to the side of the riser, like by the sight. And so like whenever I was setting my bow on the ground or raising it up into the tree or lowering it, the arrows hung down past the riser. And so the arrows would always stick into the ground, which was really annoying. So now I got the Low Pro. So it's, set up higher on the riser. And so now the arrows don't stick down past, which is super nice. That was one of the main things I wanted to get with that. So planning on getting a new sight at some point here in a little bit. But, they're not cheap. So I'm not going to do that quite yet. But I've shot the bow a fair amount. Going to start shooting a lot more here soon. It shoots really nice. I will say that. I think the longer axle-to-axle bow will be good for me because I am taller. I'm 6'2". The Verdicts was always fine for me. It's 30-inch axle-to-axle. I definitely wouldn't want to go shorter than that. But I noticed with this one, that little bit longer axle-to-axle feels really comfortable. I did a different peep this time. I can't remember what peep it is. Is it the Raptor peep maybe? I don't remember, but I like this peep sight way better than just the standard one. So went with that. And the one thing I love about this bow is the back wall is so nice. It is so rock solid. Like you can rip this bow back as hard as you want. and it just goes straight into this hard back wall with no extra give, no extra pull. Like it is just in there. So I love that, because sometimes those back walls, at least from some of the other wells I've shot before, or have a little squishiness to them, and you can kind of pull through the back wall a little bit more, or kind of wants to let down on you a little bit. This thing, the second you get to back wall, you're there and you're not going any more or any less. So I do love that. That was honestly one of the features I love the most about it. I ended up shooting, what did I shoot? I shot the Darton Tritech, because that was the big bow that everybody was talking about this year. Really nice bow. I really don't have anything bad to say about that bow. Felt really nice. Draw was really nice. Great. I mean, had no issues with it at all. Loved it. And then I shot the Mathews RX10, or not Mathews, sorry, Hoyt RX10. Felt really good. Wasn't my cup of tea. I don't know. It was and honestly, it was gonna have to be really, really damn good for me to spend the extra, $500 or $600 on it. Like I was gonna have to be like, if I shot that bow and I was like, this is the best thing I've ever felt, then yeah, I would have done it. But it's gonna have to be substantially better for me to spend that much. And then did I shoot anything else? I don't remember. I might have shot a Bowtech. I don't remember. Those were the three main ones that I shot. That I really was like, I think these are the three I need to try. And, but so it really came down to the Darton or the Mathews. And in the end, honestly, you really couldn't tell a big difference between the two. Honestly, the biggest difference, like I said, was that back wall. The back wall of the Mathews was just it felt so good. And that was the only difference I really felt. The draw cycle felt the same. And I asked about they have the new comfort mods, the Mathews does. So I had talked to him about that, and he's like, honestly, not many people are using them, because you do lose, a substantial, not a substantial, but a fair amount of FPS. And most of the people that have shot those, they just said they didn't notice enough comfortability in the draw to lose that speed. So between the Darton and the Mathews, the draw cycle to me, there was hardly any difference. So in the end, I'm thinking, okay, this basically feels about the same. Like not enough for me to be like, this one's way better or way worse. And then, so you get past that. And then you get to like I said, the accessories, like the way you can make a Mathews bow so compact. It just made more sense if you're going to go all in on one, because I just didn't feel a big enough difference between the Darton and the Mathews that I'd go with the Mathews. So that's what I did. So I now have a Mathews ARC 34, and I'm really excited about it for this year. Starting to get excited about deer season a little bit, even though obviously we're still quite a ways away. We're in the middle of May, but this time of year, now the antlers are starting to grow a little bit. I have one trail camera that's still running from last year. It's in a spot that it doesn't really take a ton of pictures, doesn't really get like a bunch of wind pictures. It's a Tactacam Reveal, and I set it up last June or July. We set it up, and it's still running. So I never shut that one off. I just let it keep running. It's literally about to die now. It's under 10%, but I've still been getting pictures literally up, yesterday I still got a picture, and I've had deer moving through there recently. Like for a while, at this time of year, or not in like the January to like March, April-ish timeframe, especially January to March, this area, literally all the deer like hardly ever go through there. It's just it's a bedding area there, but there's really no water and not much food around it. And every year they always go down to this area to the east, and they just seem to never come back up until like April. So that's just kind of how it is every year. But since that camera was still running, I decided to leave it on and just get random pictures here or there. And now, over the last couple of weeks, I've been getting a lot more deer moving through there again, because they're just starting to move. So I've been getting some pictures of some bucks with some antlers growing a little bit. So going to keep that one running. And then, I'm going to try and get out there probably probably in June is the hope. If it ends up being end of June or early July, that'll be fine too. But me and Teddy will probably try and get out there in June and get some cameras out, a couple of different places, and on the permission pieces we have, and then some public spots out there. We hunted one spot last year as a public piece. We've hunted it a couple times over the years now, and last year we actually had like some really good bucks out there. So, and from as far as we could tell from the cameras that we had out there last year, they all made it through last year. So, we're gonna be hitting that, trying to kill a big public one in Nebraska, which would be rare. But otherwise, we'll get some cameras on our permission pieces and kind of see what we have going there. We should have a couple of good ones around, hopefully, but you just never know. You never know if they survived or, if they moved somewhere else. We've had that happen both. Sometimes they died from either getting shot by a neighbor or just from whatever, or, disease, or they just move on somewhere else. Don't know. We've had some really good ones that disappeared on us and we just don't know what happened. So, but both, most of our permission pieces are not the types of, they're not the types of land that hold deer for the most part. Like they'll hold them a little bit, but they don't just stay there. They're constantly moving. It's not like a big timber patch. Like we're in southwestern Nebraska. Like there's not a lot of cover, and not a lot of thick cover. So they move a lot. They go up and down quite a bit. We're not on a river or anything like that. So, they're constantly moving around. So it is what it is. But yeah, excited about the new bow. Still shooting right now. I'm still shooting Easton Axis arrows, and they shot great last year. So I'll either just get another set. I've still got, 5 arrows of those, I think, or something like that. And I'll keep rocking those for now and maybe get another half dozen or whatever. We'll see. They're probably a little bit lighter than I would prefer to shoot. I think they were around like 460 something grains when they put them together for me last year, which is fine. The arrow debate's always, it's always all over the place. I'm shooting mechanical still, so we'll see. But yeah, looking forward to doing some shooting a lot this summer and getting ready for the season. But new bow feels great and gets me excited. So yeah, so as far as my plans for the summer, like I mentioned, I'm gonna try and get out there and get some cameras up at some point. But otherwise, it'll just be kind of just getting reps in and figuring out what the plan is for the fall. Don't have any hunts really planned at all this year. Last year, me and Teddy went and hunted a different area of Nebraska that we hadn't been to in a long time. Didn't really have much success as far as finding any sort of mature deer. We saw a decent amount of deer at one spot, public spot that we hunted, but they were just all does and small bucks, and that was about it. And we covered a lot of ground in that area. There's a decent amount of public up there, and we covered a lot. And like we didn't even bump deer on any of them really, besides the one. So I don't really have any major trips lined up this year. In years past, I've gone with Jake to some different spots and had a lot of fun with that. He had a big New Zealand trip this spring that he went on, which was super cool. Have to have him on sometime and talk about that because it was a pretty cool experience from what it sounded like. Yeah, I don't really have much lined up besides just trying to get on a good one out west where we normally hunt. Maybe hit some random public around here a little bit again, but not a lot lined up. So definitely be hunting with my kids again this year. Try and get out a few times with Teddy. And yeah, otherwise summertime right now, it's headed to Disney World next week with the family. Never done that. Never been to Disney World. Never even been to Florida besides at an airport. So we'll be headed down there this coming Friday and going to be gone for 9 days. 3 days at Disney World, 1 day at Universal. Going to golf while we're down there. There's a really nice course at the place we're staying. And then there's also a night golf 9-hole course, which is cool. So that's going to be fun. Do some night golf. I've always wanted to do that with the lights and everything. So pretty excited about that. Otherwise, this last couple months has been crazy with youth sports, trying to keep up with that. And then we got about one more month here after Disney, like the whole month of June will still be baseball, softball. And then otherwise going to be trying to do a lot of golfing. I've been golfing a lot more. Well, kind of. We went on our annual St. George golf trip again this year, which was awesome. Same group of guys. it was a blast as always. Highly recommend if you ever can do a golf trip. It's worth it. We had 7 guys this year again. St. George is a great place for a golf trip. Prices are honestly very affordable, and it's a really nice city. Golf courses are phenomenal. Played a couple really good ones this year. Sand Hollow, which was super cool. Incredible course. The views are insane. Very nice condition course. We played a good handful of good ones this year, which was a lot of fun. Great trip. Definitely going to be out golfing some more once, especially once things slow down a little bit with sports and work and stuff, which work's not going to slow down, but that's just the way it is at this time of year for us. So pretty excited for the fall, though. Just, I don't know. Like I said earlier, you kind of I mentally get out of it for a while. That's just kind of what I do. I just invest so deeply into it mentally. Time-wise, obviously, and then just mentally, like, really, like, thinking about deer and hunting all the time and different things to do, different things to try, strategies, and just being out there. And it's a grind. And obviously, anybody that hunts deer, legitimately, seriously, like, I'm sure they know exactly what I'm talking about, go do the same thing. And unfortunately, sometimes you're not successful. Sometimes you are successful. It just comes down to, a lot of it comes down to the properties you have, the amount of deer you have, where you're hunting, the state you're hunting makes a difference, unfortunately. And, where we hunt, we don't have a high population of deer as it is. And then ground changes over the years. We've lost some pieces. Some of the pieces have just been completely ripped out by farmers. So, you got to adjust and things change. Had some disease through there too. So there's just been a lot over the last couple of years that's made it, even more difficult. But that's how it goes. That's, what hunting's all about, and trying to do your best with what you got and be successful. And killed that really small buck with my kids last year, which was a blast. They still talk about it all the time. So even though it was the smallest buck I ever killed, it was worth every second of it because they still remember it. They still talk about it all the time. Literally, my 6-year-old literally mentions it every time. Like, we talk about anything that's brought up, or we just drive by a place that we drove to on the way there. He'll literally remember it. So that's pretty cool. And that's fun to me. Trying to make those memories and, get them to want to be hunters and enjoy the outdoors. So it's worth it. And, I can't wait to do it again this year too. My daughter wants to shoot a deer this year. She'll be 10. So I don't know. We'll see. Probably depend on if we could go out and get some practice with a gun, but, cause it'd just be firearm, obviously. My 6-year-old tells me he wants to shoot deer with a bow, but I'm like, yeah, buddy, you got to keep shooting, and, we got to get your poundage up. So he's got a ways to go, but he shoots a lot. So that's a good thing. We went to the, Nebraska Deer and Game Expo this year. Me and him did. And they have the 3D course at the expo, and he literally shot the whole course at that time. He was 5, almost 6, but he remembered the expo from last year, and he's like, I'm bringing my bow. I was like, all right, we'll bring your bow, and literally brought his bow, and we went, and he shot the whole course. I just hung out with him and let him shoot and helped him with everything. And it was a blast. So Nebraska Deer and Game Expo was a lot of fun this year. They had a lot of good vendors there this year, which was really cool. It's definitely growing, and a lot of people there. Really good job this year for Nebraska Deer and Game Expo. I thought they did a great job with that, and it was a lot of fun. And he had a blast just doing all of it. So fun talking to some people down there. And but otherwise, that's kind of where I'm at with the spring, summer, and coming into fall. What we're going to be doing. As far as the podcast goes, I don't know. We'll see kind of where I'm at. Probably talking about some more golf this summer, and talking about a few different things to leading into deer season. If I get out and get some cameras out and kind of seeing what stuff's going on. And I got a few more things to talk about. We'll talk about it probably in the next episode, because I got to find some more stuff to talk about. That's the hard part, especially when you're by yourself. You got to find more topics to cover, But we'll talk about some of the upcoming changes that Game and Parks has made this year. There was a lot of stuff with the questionnaire and everything this year, and it kind of made you think they're maybe going to go to a $1 state. Didn't do that, but I noticed that Michigan, I saw, just went to a $1 for the Lower Peninsula, which was interesting. Need to do a little bit more research on that and kind of see the reasons why. So I'll probably work on that for next episode, and then also talk about some of the changes that Nebraska is making. They haven't fully announced all the changes. They gave an overview of the changes that they're going to do this year, which is kind of what I expected from what I had heard. We'll talk about that next time though, and hopefully by then they might have announced most of the stuff that's changing, because we'll also have our draws will start here in a couple weeks. I think the draws open up sometime in June, so we'll see about that. But otherwise, the one other thing I was going to talk about today, which I thought was crazy, is I saw this like a week or two ago, that it was in Wyoming, I believe, that a 7-year-old picked up an elk antler shed that had a tracking device in it planted by the Wyoming Game and Parks. And so the 7-year-old and his dad found this elk shed, pick it up, and then the Game and Parks shows up at their house or whatever and essentially arrested the dad or whatever happened. I don't know. I should probably look up all the details, but essentially he's going to be charged with trespassing for sure, and who knows what else. Which, obviously if you're trespassing, that's a problem. I get that. But it's just kind of crazy to me that we're planting tracking devices on shed antlers. And I know this is in Wyoming, but just in general, that like we're going to this length on certain things where we're using technology like that to try and, I don't know, to catch people doing stuff, which I get, like obviously you shouldn't be trespassing, but like, man, it's just getting weird. Like obviously there's been multiple states now that are banning trail cameras, especially on public land or at certain times of the year, cell cams or whatever, which is crazy. And then now they're planting tracking devices in shed antlers. Like, man, I don't know. It's, hunting is changing a lot. Obviously from when I was a kid, and I don't ever condone doing anything illegal. Don't get me wrong. Like I am trying to be as by the book as I possibly can. Like I read the big game guide every year, seeing if there's any changes on anything. So I'm obviously not condoning anything, trespassing or poaching. Obviously, like I'm against all of that, but it's just kind of weird when they're doing stuff like that. I mean, what else are they, what's the next thing they're going to do? Like that's what's weird to me. Like it just seems like there's more and more things that they're going to try and do, and especially because it just kind of paints a bad light on some stuff. And even I saw today, somebody, I think it was the Born and Raised Outdoors guys, posted on their Instagram talking about like TikTok, which whatever, I could care less about TikTok. I don't have TikTok, but like their post gets banned they were talking about a bear hunt. Like they didn't even show a dead animal. They didn't show a kill shot. They didn't show anything. All they showed was them like on the tailgate of a truck talking, and then like them just like talking about a bear hunt. And there was literally nothing at all. And like that post got banned, but yet like all this other crazy garbage can be posted on there, and it's whatever. You can do that. No problem. So obviously there's still a lot that they're trying to go after with hunters and going to try and paint a bad light on hunters in general. So, you see these bad stuff, bad stories in the media and social media. And I don't know, you got to kind of do a little research on it and see like kind of what happened. And there's just a lot worse things, honestly, that in this world that, they're just trying to make it look bad on us and find ways to make it less and less hunting available, So I don't know. That was just weird though. I just thought that was kind of strange that a 7-year-old shed hunter picks up a shed with a tracking device in it. I don't really have much else to say about it. It's just, seems like there's just more and more weird stuff going on. More and more game parks people in different states, they're doing some crazier things and trying to create more rules. And honestly, it might not always necessarily be game parks. I mean, and a lot of times it's the government officials that are in charge of that because they don't have a clue about hunting or what, any information. They don't even know what a gun is half the time. Obviously, you can see that in the news. They think that, AR-15 is an assault rifle, and obviously it's never been called an assault rifle. It's not what they're called. So it's just the same thing. They're scare tactics. They're just ways to try and paint gun owners to look bad and paint hunters to look bad. And obviously they have no knowledge on how any of these guns work. Obviously there's a lot bigger and more powerful guns than an AR-15. So yeah, I don't know. The world's getting messy. Yeah, obviously been crazy. I try to stay out of it as much as I can, but you just hear things and it just really pisses you off. Really makes you want to move to the middle of nowhere. But here we are. We're not. So yeah. New gear for this fall, I was going to talk about a little bit. I don't really have much. Obviously, I got the new bow. Like, that's a big one, obviously. Big purchase. Got the AOK from my wife on that one, so thankful for that. Also, if anybody wants to buy Mathews Verdicts, I've got one for sale. I'll give you a really good deal on it. So, obviously, bows are kind of hard to sell. I could have traded it in, but the trading value is not great on it. So, if anybody is interested in it, leave a comment on Spotify or whatever, or message me on one of my pages on Instagram, and I'll let you know. But yeah, it'll be for sale for a good price if you want it. Other gear though, I don't have much other gear I really need anymore. I've got all the camera gear I need pretty much at this point. Saddle gear, I'm pretty set. I like my saddle. I love my sticks. I used the Hunt Arsenal Icon X26 last year and I loved them. They're awesome. Great sticks. I just run 3 sticks with a 2-step aider on the bottom. I may get another aider. I felt like I was getting up high enough last year for the most part. Like, I didn't really necessarily need to go higher probably, but it would be kind of nice. Maybe just get one more, even if it was just a single step aider on one of the sticks. I don't really want to carry another stick. But their aiders that they make are really nice, and they stay on the stick and they just collapse right onto, just tie right onto it, so you don't have to take them off or anything. So it's possible I might pick up another aider for that. They did also come out with a bow, like a bow and gear hoist that looks really nice. So that's something I might pick up too. Not very expensive, but I was looking at that when it first came out. So I use the brand I have is just Allen. It's one of those retractable hoists, and it works fine, but it's like the super skinny string, so you can barely hold on to it. If you don't have gloves on, it's really hard to pull up or let down. So I'll probably try and replace that. But otherwise, I've bought a lot of gear over the years, and I just feel like I'm kind of at the point where I'm pretty set. I pretty much only saddle hunt anymore, which is crazy to think about because I used to make fun of saddle hunters so much, but I'm more comfortable in a saddle, and I don't know. I just really like it. I like the mobility of it. I'm more comfortable in it than in a tree stand. I'm more alert in it than when I'm in a tree stand because you're just kind of always kind of hanging there, alert, up, doing whatever. Some knee pads. I may get some knee pads this year. That was one thing I thought about. I usually just like to stand anyway, but every once in a while when you just kind of want to rest and just rest against a tree, some good knee pads probably would be good. But I got to do some more research on that because I've seen mixed reviews on pretty much every knee pad out there. So I don't know. We'll see where that's at. But otherwise, yeah, gear-wise, going into the summer, I'm feeling pretty good about it. And I'm just going to keep shooting my bow and try and get that thing as dialed in as I can. And I'm shooting 70 pounds now this year. I've shot 75 in the past, and I've been shooting 65 for the last season and a half. And the 65 has been really nice. Honestly, I don't know what it is. Pulling 65 pounds compared to 70 pounds is like night and day difference for me. I don't have an issue pulling 70 pounds. Like, I can do it. It's more just like if you're hunting and it's like super cold and you're not moving for a long time, then all of a sudden you pull like 70 or 75 pounds. It can be like, you're just like, whoa. But I don't think I'll have an issue with 70 pounds. Like, I've done it before. But I was shooting the 65 pounds. It's just like so much lighter. I don't know why that is. Like, it's just so easy to pull all the time. I don't know why. But shooting 70 pounds this year again, a little bit more speed. This bow is driving tacks, man. It is zipping. And I don't know if that's just going from the 65 to 70 compared to my verdicts, or if this bow's a little bit faster. I don't know. But it is, those arrows are zipping. So excited for that. But I'm just going to keep doing that, keep shooting, keep preparing. Maybe I'll buy some other random Sitka gear because, why not? There's always something that comes up at some point, some sort of clothing or something you want. But yeah, that's about all I got for today. Not a very long podcast, but feels good to do it again. It's been a long time. Missed doing it. So I'm going to try and get back after it here and, not wait 3 months and try and do one every week or two. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.